Hello folks, Todd Halleck here, talking to you again about estate planning. And what's been on my mind this week as I've met with several clients is a question that seems to keep arising, and that is, should I discuss our estate plan with our children? Should I give a copy of our estate planning documents to our children? And this is actually a great question to think about. And I think the answer is almost always, at least in terms of talking about the estate plan, is an emphatic yes. Now, every family is going to be a little bit different, and every situation is going to have nuance. And so I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer, but I think the default rule should be yes, talk to your children, talk to your family about what your estate plan is, and that only from there we should be saying, is there some reason that that general rule shouldn't apply in your particular situation? I had a wise person once share a story of a good friend of his and the chaos that occurred in their family and the animosities that reverberate through today, because when the parents set up the estate plan, they viewed it as their estate plan and that it was really none of their kids' business. And as the parents finally got into the situation of dementia and senility and ultimately death, a lot of discord and mistrust came into the family because of what the estate plan said. And he was emphatic, and he said, tell your clients that this isn't their estate plan. They'll be gone. They'll be dead. It's their family's estate plan to live with, and they should involve their family in the decisions that they're making. Especially, we deal a lot with farms and ranches where maybe a large amount of the assets are going to be going to one or two people to the exclusion of other members of the family. Or maybe you're doing a large gift to charity, and to have that be a surprise to people at an already raw moment, right? I mean, mom or dad have just passed away, and now they're finding out for the first time that what they thought would happen isn't going to happen. And maybe sometimes that's because they were greedy, but a lot of times it's more emotional than that. It's a more emotional reaction to, well, did mom and dad not love me as much as they loved brother or sister? Why am I being treated apparently lesser than them for some reason? And so remember, it's your kids' plan, it's your family's plan that they're going to have to deal with. And so to the extent you keep it secret, it's going to be harder for them to process it. I tell my clients all the time, I say, it's a lot easier if they're hearing your plan from you as opposed to hearing it from somebody like me for the first time after you're gone. Even if they don't agree with your plan, if they've heard it from you and know that this is your wishes and this is the reason you kind of thought this out and came to these decisions, even if they don't agree with it, much more likely to accept it and not maybe fight over it. And so I'm a big believer. I think a lot of us think that some of the stuff we see in the movies where, after the death, we all gather at a late evening darkened room in my office and I read the will. These documents can be quite long, usually 25 or 30 pages at a minimum, and sometimes hundreds of pages, so no one's going to want to sit and listen to me read for that long. But rare that's how people are finding out. I mean, usually they're getting a copy of things and they're processing it maybe somewhat separately from the group setting and maybe having things explained to them. And so so when these knives out situations arise, usually it's because people have kind of built themselves up, not because we have some dramatic moment in the boardroom where somebody is disinherited. And so really considering having these conversations with your children. What are we doing? Who are we putting in charge? What are our wishes in regards to the end of life decision if we're on life support, right? Like that's a tough decision for anybody to deal with, even when they know what mom and dad's wishes are, but to not really have had any conversations about it can be a really tough situation to put someone in. So the default should be having those discussions. And then how much depth those discussions has probably depends on the nature of your estate and your situation. Is your estate one where we've got minor children or people that are going to be less capable of understanding? Is there some reason why we don't want to maybe necessarily disclose what the assets are? I think you could have a discussion about what the plan looks like without going into what the actual assets are, values and things like that, and put people, give them an understanding of what you're doing. And so a really big proponent of having that discussion with your family and viewing your estate plan as not your estate plan, but your family's estate plan. 'Tis the season, right, for family gatherings, and I'm not suggesting that we use these joyous occasions to discuss things that are maybe not as exciting or could be even downright depressing, but maybe a reminder as you see your family and the joy that they're having at these times, that maybe you want to make sure that they can continue to have those, and that your estate plan, as opposed to the family's estate plan, doesn't become a point of contention going into the future. I hope you found this useful. If you have questions about your estate plan, I'd encourage you to seek qualified advice from advisors who understand this area of the law and this kind of planning, and your family will benefit from it.